The book of Revelation has been misread for 2,000 years. For nearly 2,000 years, the book of Revelation has fascinated, confused, and sometimes frightened Christians. Many people approach it as a mysterious code about the end of the world, searching for hidden predictions about wars, disasters, political leaders, and the final collapse of human history. Yet from a Catholic biblical perspective, Revelation is often one of the most misunderstood books in sacred scripture. What if the book of Revelation has been misread for 2,000 years not because the text is unclear, but because readers have been asking the wrong questions? The first mistake is reading Revelation as if it were mainly about our future rather than the experience of the early church. The book opens by saying it is a message to 7 real churches in Asia Minor: Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. These were actual Christian communities facing persecution, temptation, and spiritual fatigue under Roman rule. St. John was not writing science fiction for distant generations. He was offering hope and courage to suffering believers in his own time. Catholic tradition teaches that Scripture must first be understood in its original historical and spiritual context. Revelation was written during a time when Christians were under pressure from the Roman Empire, especially under emperors who demanded worship as divine rulers. Refusing emperor worship could mean imprisonment or death. When John describes the beast, Babylon, and the great persecution, he is not merely speaking about some distant future antichrist. He is also speaking symbolically about the corrupt powers of his own world, especially imperial Rome, which persecuted the faithful and seduced nations with wealth and violence. This does not mean Revelation has no future meaning. Catholic theology recognizes both immediate and ultimate fulfillment in prophecy, but reducing Revelation to a newspaper forecast misses its deeper purpose. It is not primarily about predicting dates, it is about revealing spiritual truth. In fact, the word revelation comes from the Greek apocalypsis, meaning unveiling. The book unveils heaven's perspective on earthly events. Another common misunderstanding is treating Revelation as a book of fear instead of a book of worship. Many imagine it as a horror story filled with monsters, plagues, and destruction. But at its center stands not terror, but the victorious Lamb Jesus Christ. Again and again, John points to Christ as the slain yet risen Lamb who reigns forever. The heart of Revelation is not the beast but the Lamb. This is deeply Catholic because the imagery of Revelation is profoundly liturgical. The heavenly worship described by John resembles the structure of the Mass: incense rising like prayers, elders in white garments, hymns of praise, the altar, the scroll, the sacrifice of the Lamb, and the great heavenly assembly. Many Catholic theologians see Revelation as the clearest biblical window into heavenly liturgy. It reminds believers that every Mass on earth participates in the worship of heaven. When Catholics hear "Holy, holy, holy" in the liturgy, they echo the song of heaven described in Revelation when the priest elevates the Eucharist. We are reminded that the Lamb once slain is eternally present before the Father. Revelation is not only about the end of time, it is about the eternal worship taking place now. The famous number 666 is another example of frequent misreading. Popular culture treats it as a secret code to identify future villains, but many biblical scholars note that in John's time, numbers often carried symbolic meaning. Using Hebrew numerical values, 666 can correspond to Nero Caesar or Roman emperor remembered for brutal persecution of Christians. This would have been immediately meaningful to early believers. The point was not to inspire superstition, but to reveal that earthly tyrants who oppose God are doomed to fall. Likewise, Babylon is not simply an ancient city or a future empire. It symbolizes every worldly system built on pride, injustice, and rebellion against God in John's day. Babylon pointed strongly to Rome. In every age, it can describe societies that worship power, pleasure, and greed instead of God. Perhaps the greatest misreading of Revelation is forgetting its ending. Too many interpretations stop with catastrophe and ignore the promise of renewal. Revelation does not end with destruction. but with a wedding, the marriage supper of the Lamb. It ends with the New Jerusalem descending from heaven, where God dwells with his people, where every tear is wiped away, and where death shall be no more. This is the final Catholic hope, not escape from creation, but the renewal of creation. God does not abandon the world, he redeems it. Revelation is the story of Christ completing salvation history, bringing the church, his bride, into eternal communion with him. So has Revelation been misread for 2,000 years? In many ways, yes. Too often it has been turned into speculation instead of discipleship, fear instead of faith, prediction instead of worship. But when read through the heart of the church, it becomes something far richer, a message of perseverance, a vision of heavenly liturgy, and a proclamation that Christ has already won. The book of Revelation is not meant to make Christians obsessed with the end of the world. It is meant to make them faithful in the present world. Its message is simple, powerful, and eternally relevant. Remain loyal to the Lamb, resist the false gods of every age, and trust that in the end, God's victory is certain. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Goodbye.